Hi, this is Jeff Wimmer from Studio Cycles and StudioCycles.com, and it is March 28th. And in this short YouTube video, I want to talk to you about runners and spinning. Runners and spinning. And spinning is a licensed trademark activity. And I'm going to be talking about indoor group cycling in general, but I do recommend spinning because they have the most stringent guidelines for safety and proper form. And let me just get started. I deal with a lot of runners. Runners call me for a number of reasons. I'm very passionate about cycling. I grew up in the bicycle industry, and I have to have my ass on some sort of a seat 5 or 6 days a week or I get homicidal. And I think runners have that same sort of passion for their thing, which is running. One thing about running, let me just go ahead and state the obvious. It's very, very hard on the body. And as we get older, all of that jarring and impact, it takes its toll on a good number of people. And I get a lot of calls from runners. Typically, it's 35 to 55 years is a typical age window that I get from people who are runners, and I hear a number of different types of situations. Number one, a runner has an injury, a meniscus, an ACL issue, or it could be something like where they're bone on bone. And I've dealt with quite a few runners who've called me. What I've heard, I'm not a doctor, I'm not dispensing medical advice. Do not take this as one-on-one advice from me to you. This is just my experience, and I want to share it with you. I've gotten calls from runners who are bone on bone, and their doctor tells them that they have to have corrective surgery or even knee replacements, and typically what you get for therapy is swimming or cycling. And obviously swimming has no equipment involved. It's very fluid. And cycling, if done properly, if you're not run over by a city bus, if cycling is done properly, it's very, very fluid. And for rehabbing a severe runner's injury like bone on bone or a really badly torn meniscus, inevitably, swimming and cycling are always a big part of that. Another situation I get is runners tell me that they're experiencing pain and a lot of aches and pains when they're out doing their favorite activity. And my experience with runners has been, particularly with doctors, is that, and this is hard to do when something in your life is such a passion. But I know plenty of situations of runners where they have adopted swimming and cycling. Unfortunately, running has to no longer be primary, but if they cycle and swim and they build all those muscle groups around the knees and they improve the muscle mass and build sort of a support structure around the knees, and they improve circulation and they adopt a fluid activity, particularly indoor cycling or spinning, they're still able to go out and run and enjoy it, just not as a primary. And I've also had a lot of runners express their fear that, this is my thing, I've been doing it my whole life, it's what I love, and I don't think I'm going to like this, this indoor cycling. But I will tell you this. Indoor cycling is a highly productive source of endorphins, and I know for runners, endorphins, it's a high. It's you're in the zone. It's where it takes you. And I'm certainly not suggesting that this will replace the thing that you love the most, if running is in fact your thing. But my experience with indoor cyclists who used to be runners, or running was their primary, and it's had to been moved to the back burner or abandoned altogether, they've really taken to indoor cycling or spinning like a fish to water. And what's important for people who are runners, I think this is really, really important, is the drivetrain and the flywheel. Because so many bikes have belts and flat, skinny flywheels, and flat, skinny flywheels produce almost no inertia. You want inertia, you want a perimeter-weighted flywheel. And perimeter-weighted flywheel is important because it's and you want a fixed gear, because perimeter weighting with a fixed gear produces aggressive inertia in an undeniable drivetrain that is pure fluid movement, 360-degree pedal stroke. The flat, skinny flywheels tend to give you that up, down, up, down, up, down pedal stroke. And when you're trying to rehab and strengthen and improve circulation, you know, clearly an up, down pedal stroke is not as severe as a runner who, you know, is a movement that stops and starts with an impact. Non-perimeter weighted flat skinny flywheels, I think, it's nowhere near a fluid, aggressive inertia producing, chain driven flywheel drivetrain on a bike. The original perimeter weighted bikes, the Schwinn Johnny G spinners, I have something similar. It's a 2012 model, but it's called a Schwinn IC Pro, and you can clearly see there's a mass on the outside edge of that flywheel. And if you look at it, you'll see it. This right here is perimeter weighting, serious perimeter weighting. On the newer model Star Treks, the perimeter weighting is out there. It's aggressive. It's obvious, but it's just more subtle because it's rounded. The new 2012 Spinner home version bikes, here's an Edge and a Sprint. They have perimeter weighted flywheels, aggressive inertia producing. And I think this is key if you want to get to a place where you recover, or maybe you're at a place where, I know for myself, I tore my meniscus at Mammoth, and Mammoth Mountain, I wasn't even on the slopes. I was walking through the parking lot. And one doctor told me, oh, we need to cut, we need to trim, we need to scope, we need to blah, blah, blah. I went to another doctor, and he suggested that I change the way that I stretched for 3 to 6 months, and I continued with my rigorous cycling. And my experience was, and my meniscus tear I don't think was as extreme as a lot of people's are, and I'm not suggesting you do this. In no way, shape, or form is this medical advice. But I recovered from my meniscus tear completely. 3 to 6 months later, I think it was closer to 3 months, and I had sort of a nagging, gnawing, sort of a fatigue-ish kind of a pain in my knee in the first month and a half. But after 2 to 3 months, I was pretty much recovered. I did not have any type of corrective surgery. And that was probably 7 or 8 years ago. So for runners, I don't think there's something that you could adopt and pick up and add to your fitness regime that would be as beneficial as indoor cycling and spinning, because it strengthens all the muscle groups around the knees. Cycling is obviously fluid. I think for hip flexors, knees, ankles, it's fluid, it's circulatory in the most positive of ways. We have a company that's unique because we're the only company in the world that when you buy a brand new bike from us, we pull it out of the box, we tear it apart, we go through it, we optimize it, we build it, we tune it, and then we overpackage it and send it off with. Most of our bikes have lifetime free parts replacement and lifetime email and phone tech support for sure. Just checking my time. You can call me direct, 888-909-BIKE. 310-664-1375. Cell phone is 818-470-2204. I'm Jeff Wimmer. I'm the owner of the company. I'm available 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. And I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video.